to take a few minutes today to speak from my heart to the Daystar family and friends.
How did one of the most respected Christian leaders get caught in a shocking scandal? What really happened behind closed doors at Daystar Television Network that has left the faith community in turmoil? The latest revelations involving Jimmy Evans and Joni Lamb have sent shockwaves across the media, exposing a controversy that no one saw coming. For years, Jimmy Evans and Joni Lamb were seen as pillars of faith and leadership, guiding millions through their teachings on marriage, family, and spirituality. But now, their names are at the center of a dramatic fallout that has raised serious questions about power, control, and the hidden struggles within one of the largest Christian broadcasting networks. Reports suggest that what was once a close spiritual alliance has fractured into a bitter conflict, with accusations of spiritual abuse, manipulation, and a battle for dominance over Daystar's future. But what really happened to Jimmy Evans and Joni Lamb? Stay tuned as we unravel the truth behind this explosive incident. The details are more shocking than anyone could have predicted, and the impact of this controversy could change the face of Christian media forever. Keep watching as we expose the hidden tensions, the power struggles, and the fight for control that has rocked the faith community to its core.
I went to Daystar one afternoon to grab something from the cafe. There was something in the green room, and I had my child with me, and I knew she was scared at this point, so we didn't take her there anymore. We had a nanny at home with her.
At the heart of this unfolding controversy is a power struggle that has been brewing within Daystar Television Network for years. Once seen as an unshakable institution of faith-based broadcasting, Daystar is now at the center of a bitter family and leadership feud that has exposed deep cracks in its foundation. What seemed like a seamless partnership between Jimmy Evans and Joni Lamb has now turned into one of the most talked-about conflicts in Christian media history.
Recently, Daystar made the decision to terminate my son, Jonathan Lamb's employment. That decision was not taken lightly. It followed a 15-month review of Jonathan's performance and his refusal to take any steps to satisfy a detailed performance improvement plan put in place. He also refused my offer to participate in a formal mediation to resolve grievances in a biblical and professional manner. Rather than take any steps to improve his performance at Daystar, it seems clear now that Jonathan was focused on fabricating a smear campaign.
The controversy began when Jonathan Lamb, Joni's son, and his wife, Susie, came forward with allegations of spiritual manipulation and abuse at Daystar. According to them, Joni and her allies, including Jimmy Evans, used their influence to control Jonathan's decisions and force his submission under the pretense of divine authority. The situation escalated during a private, the 11th of July, 2023, meeting where Jimmy Evans allegedly told Jonathan that his mother was the voice of God and that opposing her meant rebelling against God himself. This revelation has sent shockwaves throughout the Christian community. The idea that a leader could claim absolute spiritual authority over another adult, especially their own child, has sparked serious concerns about the misuse of power in religious organizations. Many are now asking, was this a case of legitimate spiritual guidance, or was it a calculated effort to silence dissent and maintain control?
A lot has been going on over the last couple of years that we just couldn't talk about. But we've given over all of our evidence over to multiple reporters, including the police department. Daystar was contacted for a comment by the journalist Friday, November 15th, and then I was subsequently fired the following day, November 16th.
Some scary things happened, being followed, private investigators, intimidation, threats. Even through all of that, things don't stop. So we felt like we had no other option but to reach out to a journalist. When you bring things to the light, things, get better. So that's what we did.
Absolutely.
For years, Jimmy Evans has been a trusted figure in Christian leadership, known for his teachings on marriage and relationships. His credibility made it even more shocking when leaked recordings revealed his role in pressuring Jonathan to submit to his mother's authority. Instead of offering neutral spiritual counsel, Evans is accused of aligning with Joni and reinforcing the idea that she had unquestionable power over her son. This revelation has divided Evans' followers, with some questioning whether he was simply offering biblical guidance or actively participating in an abuse of spiritual power. In the meeting, Evans reportedly used Romans 13, a passage about obeying authority, to justify Jonathan's obligation to submit. Critics argue that this interpretation was weaponized to demand obedience rather than encourage healthy leadership and accountability. The controversy didn't stop at family tensions. It also exposed deeper issues within Daystar's leadership. When Joni Lamb remarried in 2023 to Doug Weiss, a Christian sex therapist, it intensified the division within her family and staff. Jonathan and other family members did not approve of the marriage, arguing that Weiss had no biblical grounds for divorce, making Joni's marriage spiritually questionable.
At your mother's request, we called you back in here so John could talk to you. And we'd give you 24 hours from the time we signed this. That's roughly 2:30 to 3 o'clock tomorrow. If you can sign that, come back in to Arnold's office, sign the piece of paper, okay? Read it until you're comfortable with it, and then sign the piece of paper tomorrow. You have until basically, I say 3 o'clock. That's 24 hours from the time it was signed. If you do not do that, then you are removing yourself from the board and removing yourself from your vice president position, and you are then an employee. You're still an employee. That's where we are. Now, technically, we had to pass a motion to do that because technically you were gone.
The tension boiled over when Jonathan and Susie were asked to publicly support Joni's marriage by reading a viewer comment on air praising the union. When they refused due to personal and spiritual convictions, Joni allegedly fired Susie on the spot, accusing her of rebellion. Following Susie's dismissal, Jonathan was pressured to comply, and once again, Jimmy Evans played a crucial role. In another meeting, Joni and Evans allegedly told Jonathan that his resistance was not only defiance against Daystar, but against God himself. They warned him of demonic consequences, suggesting that his refusal to obey his mother would bring a curse upon his family and children. For many, these tactics crossed the line from spiritual leadership into outright manipulation. Using fear, threats of divine punishment, and claims of absolute authority, Joni and Evans demanded submission in a way that alarmed both Christian leaders and followers. The situation continued to escalate over the following 18 months, with Jonathan and Susie claiming they were subjected to intimidation and threats. The breaking point came on the 16th of November, 2024, when Jonathan was officially fired from Daystar. Shortly after his termination, Joni released an official statement, accusing Jonathan of fabricating a smear campaign because he was not named future president of Daystar. She also accused him of blackmail, citing an email where he allegedly offered not to release damaging audio recordings in exchange for securing his future role at Daystar.
You had already removed yourself
you
from the
dismissed
board.
me.
Well, because you did not do it. Technically, you removed yourself from the board.
I didn't remove
Technically,
myself.
you
You
removed yourself
dismissed
from
me.
vice president. At her request, we passed a motion to give you 24 hours to reconsider. Before you get your letter from Daystar telling you that's what the situation is. Now, you with me? You understand?
I understand.
So until 3 o'clock tomorrow, you have to go home, pray, talk, do whatever you want to, then come back into Arnold's office and read that until you're comfortable to sign it or not sign it.
Okay.
And if you sign it, then we are bound, you're bound by it just like the rest of it. If you don't sign it, you have removed yourself from the board and removed yourself from the officer of Daystar.
I wouldn't have removed myself. That would be her decision.
That's the effect of not signing.
That's the effect of you not signing it. You're doing it.
What he said is this board didn't remove you. Your decision not to sign this is what's going to remove you.
Jonathan denied the blackmail accusations, stating that he was only referencing a succession plan made by his father, Marcus Lamb, before his passing. He insisted that his goal was never to usurp Joni's leadership but to honor his father's wishes. This controversy raises larger questions about power dynamics, leadership accountability, and spiritual manipulation in Christian organizations. Many are now re-examining the influence of figures like Joni Lamb and Jimmy Evans, leaders who, while preaching faith and family values, have been accused of using fear and control to maintain their authority. The fallout from this scandal has shaken the faith of many Daystar supporters, with some questioning whether the network can survive the damage. Others believe this is a necessary moment of reckoning, exposing toxic leadership structures that need to be reformed. As this story continues to develop, one thing is clear. The future of Daystar, Joni Lamb, and Jimmy Evans is uncertain. Their reputations have been deeply affected, and the impact of this controversy will likely shape Christian broadcasting for years to come. Will Daystar recover from this crisis? Will Joni and Evans be held accountable for their actions? Or will the scandal fade, allowing the same power structures to remain intact. Only time will tell. But for now, the cracks in Daystar's foundation have been exposed, and the world is watching to see what happens next.
And I really felt from the Lord that even though a lot of wrong had been done to me, that I was to stand firm in the position that God had called me to and to not walk away. Right now, Susie and I are at an undisclosed location because we simply do not feel safe at our home. Now, please know that not only has Julie Royce been given all of the evidence and is writing a story that will be out soon, multiple national reporters have been given all of the evidence as of this afternoon. They should be reporting some stories that will be out in the news very shortly.
We never dreamed this would be our lives. We begged God for months and months that he would take it any other route. But we have to obey in the end. And if he says, you know what, you're the ones who have to speak, it's the harder road. It would have been easy to just walk away. But if he says, I'm calling you to do this, we have to do this. And it's been a challenge, but he has led us every step of the way, and he has given us so much peace. So I just want to encourage you, even though things will look horrible and it looks like turmoil, God always sees the bigger picture. And as long as we obey him, we stand in the truth, we tell the truth, he will take us through. And I know he will, but we do need, and thank you for your prayers, because all that said, it has still been a hard journey. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really been a long road of suffering, and it has not been easy, but we've stayed faithful and true to what God has called us to do.
Look at all the evidence, because a lot is coming out. God has taught us a lot in these last few years, and we've had to do some very difficult things, but there's a reason God told us to have this evidence. So I really encourage you to not just go by emotions or what you hear, but to look at the evidence.
It's been a long road of suffering, but eventually God brings all things to light in his time. And after giving everyone involved much time for repentance, the time has finally come to shine the light of truth on the situation.
As the fallout from the Jimmy Evans and Joni Lamb controversy continues to spread, the Christian community and the public are left grappling with serious concerns about leadership, accountability, and the true nature of authority in faith-based organizations. The revelations about Daystar's internal power struggles, alleged spiritual manipulation, and the treatment of Jonathan and Susie Lamb have opened a much-needed conversation about the dangers of unchecked influence in religious institutions. The controversy has divided followers, with some defending Joni Lamb and Jimmy Evans, believing that their actions were misunderstood or misrepresented. Others, however, see the situation as a wake-up call, highlighting the ways in which spiritual authority can be weaponized to demand absolute obedience rather than guiding with love and wisdom. Critics argue that Jimmy Evans' role in reinforcing Joni's authority was deeply problematic. His insistence that Joni's words were equivalent to God's voice within Daystar set a dangerous precedent tone that could be used to silence dissent, suppress critical thinking, and manipulate others under the guise of faith. This has led many to question the ethical standards of leadership within Christian media networks, particularly in organizations that lack external accountability.
You see, Jonathan was extremely disappointed that he was not named the future president of Daystar following the death of his father and my husband, Marcus Lamb, despite the fact that Marcus had given a clear directive to the family and to the board that I would succeed him as president. Jonathan's disappointment in not getting his way only deepened when I married Dr. Doug Weiss, who has been such a blessing to me, the rest of my family, and Daystar. I can tell you that as a mother, as a grandmother, this situation saddens me deeply, and it grieves my heart because I love my family. I love all my children. I love my grandchildren. I love the work we've done together for so many years. And I had hoped that we could have resolved the situation in private. But now, Jonathan has given me no choice except to speak out. Everyone knows that we have dedicated our lives to spreading the love of Jesus, and to see it attacked by my son Jonathan and his wife is truly heartbreaking. I want to assure you that all the allegations that are circulating against myself and my late husband are completely false. We have already begun to take legal steps to defend ourselves, and we will address the accusations in a God-honoring way. We stand firm in our faith, knowing that God is with us, and his purpose for Daystar is far greater than any present challenge we may be facing. While this attack is very painful and wrong, I know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against a spiritual enemy who seeks to destroy and divide no matter what the cost. I want to ask you for your prayers. Thank you for your continued love and support. Our team here at Daystar will keep you updated. Again, thank you for your prayers. God bless you.
Moreover, the claims that Jonathan and Susie were rebelling against God by refusing to comply with Joni's demands have sparked outrage among theologians and Christian leaders. Many argue that true faith is built on personal conviction and discernment, not blind submission to human authority. This controversy has left many asking, should obedience to church leadership ever override personal faith and moral judgment? And if leaders abuse their influence, who holds them accountable? As more details continue to emerge, the future of Daystar Television Network remains uncertain. The organization has already suffered significant reputational damage, with many viewers now questioning its leadership and moral integrity. One of the biggest concerns is whether Daystar can regain the trust of its audience. The network was built on a foundation of faith, family, and transparency. Yet recent events have painted a picture of secrecy, power struggles, and coercion. Many supporters are demanding accountability, and some have even stopped supporting the network financially, refusing to donate until real changes are made. Additionally, legal battles could be looming on the horizon, with Jonathan and Susie accusing Joni of covering up sexual abuse allegations within the family. There is a possibility that law enforcement or external investigators could become involved. If these claims are pursued in court, the resulting legal scrutiny could further tarnish Daystar's reputation and lead to major internal shakeups.
So let's unpack the first question, is why didn't we go to the police? Well, we did go to the police, actually twice.
I think to answer the second question, why did you wait so long to talk? I would say let's go through the timeline, because I understand in an article, there's a bit of back and forth because it's so complex. So we'll just go in a streamline. We're going to do a super concise version because this is going to be a short video. It'll all keep coming out. We have a little bit of notes here for just the main highlights. So let's pick up from where it all began. I would start with in the summer of 2020. Actually, in early spring 2020, my sister noticed my daughter's behavior being strange, stiffening up when people came close. And I started to notice that too, but I didn't take it very seriously. I thought just part of growing. And then by that summer, on a trip, we're going to be a little careful with our words here. We have to be. On a trip, this man says that our daughter walked in on him in a bathroom, saw him full frontal nude. At this point, this is also new to me. I didn't really know what to do with it. I just said, okay. Since he told me, I just said, okay. And I went and checked on my child. She seemed fine. So I was like, okay. I don't know if I even told you or not that day. Then as the months start to progress, she starts to get, her behavior is changing. November of 2020, she tells me in very graphic detail that she had been molested. It was the shock of my life. I can't even explain the things that I felt.
As for Jimmy Evans, his silence on the matter is speaking volumes. While he has built his career on teaching about strong marriages and godly leadership, his involvement in pressuring Jonathan to submit to Jana has seriously damaged his credibility. Many are now questioning whether his teachings on authority and submission reflect a toxic power dynamic rather than healthy biblical leadership. Will Evans publicly address these concerns, or will he try to distance himself from the controversy? So far, his refusal to clarify his role in the dispute has only fueled speculation. If he hopes to salvage his reputation, he may need to issue a public statement explaining his perspective and reaffirming his commitment to ethical leadership. This controversy has broadened the conversation beyond Daystar, forcing many to reevaluate the structures of authority within Christian organizations. The idea that one person's words could be considered equal to God's voice raises troubling questions about spiritual abuse and the potential dangers of unquestioning obedience. Some Christian leaders have stepped forward to denounce these tactics, emphasizing that true leadership should never rely on fear, coercion, or manipulation. The use of biblical passages to demand obedience, rather than encourage personal faith and discernment, has been widely condemned. This has led to a renewed call for greater transparency and accountability in faith-based institutions. Additionally, many believers are reassessing their relationship with high-profile Christian leaders, recognizing that no human being, no matter how respected, should be placed on a pedestal above moral and spiritual scrutiny. Faith is meant to empower, not control. And this scandal has exposed just how easily authority can be misused when left unchecked.